This is top 10 UFC prospects currently in the UFC with under 3 fights. I'm going to go through my rankings from number 10 all the way down to number 1 based on who I think has the most potential, has the most skill, and has the highest chance of building themselves into the rankings or to challenge for a world title. So, starting with first and foremost, I'm just going to go over my list actually. So, I've got 10 to 1 all have to have under 3 fights. So I've got no one under 3 fights. So you may be thinking, oh, where's Mauricio Ruffy? Where's all these other guys? So that's just a rule that I had in place for this. Every single fighter in this list from 10 to 1 has under 3 fights. So yeah, just a heads up. Starting with number 10, we have Seok Hun Ko, which I believe his nickname is the Korean Tyson. Now he's 31 years old. He's a little bit on the older side. He's 5'10". He fights in the welterweight division. He's currently coming off a dominant win over Oban Elliott. I believe there was even a 30-26 scorecard in there somewhere. But currently riding a 5 fight win streak. He's a very rangy southpaw. If you watch him fight, you'll notice that he's almost like in that McGregor type stance, that karate stance. But he did showcase his grappling. He's mainly a striker. He came out there against Oban Elliott, took him down, controlled him for 3 rounds, landed good elbows, landed some good shots on the feet too, mixed it up very well. It was a very, very balanced performance against a well-known prospect on the come up as of Oban Elliott. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the welterweight division. I think he's got a very, very good style. I think he's well-rounded, which is what you need in this today's age. You can't just be one-dimensional. You can't have good stand-up and not have good takedown defense. He's shown great takedown offense, great stand-up, great kicks, great boxing. He has very good range and distance control. So I'm looking forward to his come up in the welterweight division. He's just coming off of a win over Oban Elliott. Maybe we'll see him get back in there against someone of the likes of Nicholas Dalby. Wanting a kind of lower level competition after a big knockout loss to Randy Brown. So yeah, keep in mind for Siak Ko, the Korean Tyson, I believe his nickname is again, but very, very talented. I believe he's going to fly in under the radar and look to come into the rankings maybe in the next 12 months. On to the next. Now, this may be a bit of a controversial one because people may be thinking, oh, Malcolm Whalemaker, he's one of the best prospects in the UFC right now. And I agree. But the reason for him being at number 9 and not, in the top 5 is because we haven't really seen him in certain positions which I would base that off of. We haven't seen him on his back. How good is his jiu-jitsu? How good is his takedown defense, when he's fighting a grappler? Um, he's fought Cameron Simon was a very good opponent, but Cameron Simon hasn't looked as himself lately. Chris Moutinho, he's not the best of competition. I want to see Malcolm Wellmaker against a good grappler, a good wrestler, someone who can mix it up with him and stay with him on the feet and get the takedowns. I want to see how his takedown defense goes as well. So maybe someone the likes of Saeed Nurmagomedov, Jonathan Martinez, um, someone that can mix it up with him, not just Chris Mutino, coming in on short notice. So I just don't feel like we've seen enough from Malcolm at this time. I do think he's very talented on the feet. It's just, we don't see many kicks from Malcolm. We see a lot of boxing and the big looping right hook. He has good hooks to the body, which I like. I think that's something that goes unnoticed in MMA nowadays, and it isn't used enough. There's, a lot of people coming in, they're just head hunting. But he does mix it up well, goes to the body. He's got very good boxing. 2-0 in the UFC so far with 2 first-round knockouts. Definitely, I think he has a bright future. 31 years old. He's on the older side. 10-0. I definitely do like Malcolm Wellmaker as a fighter. I'm a fan of his fighting style, but before I put him in the top 5 or so, I want to see him against a grappler or a jiu-jitsu fighter. On to the next. Now we have Chang Ho Lee. Now, your first impression may be, well, Chang Ho Lee over Malcolm Wellmaker. Now, Chang Ho Lee is a very balanced fighter. He's very, very underrated. I think he's actually one of the most underrated fighters on the roster. What he did to Cortavius Romeus in his last fight, go back and watch that fight. That was just complete domination over someone with more experience than him, who came in off the contender, had two contender series fights, won his second fight. Cortavius Romeus has been under the UFC, and he just took him down and fucking mauled him. Landed vicious ground and pound, vicious elbows. He's got great cardio. He's got great offensive wrestling. I love the fact that he's busy when he's on the ground. He's not a guy that's laying on top, just wanting to get the decision victory or, grind out a decision. He's looking to be active, whether that's find the submission or land vicious shots from full mount, or, he's always looking to passy guard. He's chasing submissions too. He's active off the bottom, which is what I like in today's age. There's not a lot of fighters that are active. You get the fucking lay and pray and jock sniff. I like that he's active. He's got very good ground and pound, very good elbows. I think he's going to go far in the bantamweight division. He's 11-1. He came in off the road to UFC season 2 Singapore. He had two knockouts over, I believe one of his opponents was 7-0 and another one was 24-4 or 28-4. Had nearly triple the experience that he had, and he's got good wins on his resume. He's built himself up at the right pace. He's not just jumping in there with a dangerous veteran. He's building himself up. Very well rounded. He's shown that he can take people down. He's got good striking on the feet, and he's got great cardio too. So that's why I have Chang Ho Lee at number 8. Now moving on to number 7, Lona Kavanagh, 9-0. 26 years of age. Now, honestly, Lona Kavanagh, he could have been in the top 5. He could have been in the top 3. He's very talented. 2-0 in the UFC so far with very respectable wins over two great prospects in Jose Ochoa and Felipe dos Santos. Jose Ochoa, I also think, is another talented prospect. He's also an honorable mention. Just had that second round KO win over Cody Durden. Looked great in that. But Lona Kavanagh, he's a very well balanced fighter. He's got great boxing. That fucking knockout on the Contender Series. If you haven't seen that, go fucking watch that KO. That was ridiculous against another, rising prospect. And now, if you're getting wins on the Contender Series, 90% chance they're a very, very respectable opponent. Dana and Hunter and all their matchmaking team, they're not bringing in guys onto the Contender Series that have, schmucks on their resume and that are fucking, not at UFC level. These are guys that can fight in the UFC. It's just, the level of competition to get in there is so high. Imagine you're fucking booked up and you're 5, 6 fights into your career and you're on the Contender Series and you got fucking Lona Kavanagh in front of you. This is a tremendous fighter. 5'6" at flyweight, so he's not on the shorter side. He's not 5'3", 5'4". Um, he even had that insane KO against the fence in the Cage Warriors. I can't remember the opponent's name, but I think it was like he landed like a 1-2, step back, slip the right hand, bang 1-2, knocked him out cold. Like, he's got very crisp boxing. He's shown he can go 3 hard rounds at a good pace. He's shown that he can get taken down and get back up, which is obviously why I have him over the likes of a Malcolm Wellmaker. He's shown he's got good takedown defense. He can get back up if he is taken down. Very respectable prospect, and that's why I have him at number 7. Now, moving on to number 6, which I know there's going to be people saying Alexandre Topuria over Lona Kavanagh, over Malcolm Wellmaker. Are you crazy? But they just don't understand the technicality of that decision. They look at Malcolm Wellmaker just getting these big 2 KOs in the first round in a row, and they think, bro, like Alexandre couldn't even finish Colby Thickness. I'm not basing this off of your last performance or your last 2 fights. I'm basing this on where I think your skill set is as a whole. I think Alexandre Topuria is a very, very skilled fighter. Grappling, boxing, striking, judo, wrestling, everything. Now he's obviously the brother of Ilia Topuria. He's the coach of Ilia as well. One of his coaches made his UFC debut back at UFC 312 and was victorious via unanimous decision over Colby Thickness. Now, Colby Thickness did take that fight on short notice, stepping in on a last-minute replacement for Cody Haddon. I think it's kind of like the similar debut to Ilya in a way. Came in, had a decision victory against a bit of a durable guy. Obviously, Ilya defeated Yusuf Salal in his debut, but a bit of a ring rust, I would say, in his debut against Colby Thickness. He had been out for a while. He'd been coaching Ilya, focusing on his brother, which is very respectable, wanting to see his brother achieve his goals and dreams. But now I think that it's time for Alexandre to get in the mix. Obviously he's made his UFC debut. I'm hoping that he gets back in there within the next coming 3 months. He's already been off for was 312 may have been 312 was a while ago. Yeah, he should be looking to get back in there very soon. I'm not sure as for the opponent. I'm not exactly sure who. Maybe a Gaston Bolaños. Maybe I was going to say a Hani Barcelos, but I think Hani Barcelos is kind of looking at scraping at the top 15 surface. Toporia's not quite there yet. Maybe I don't know. Let me know in the comments if someone can think of a good matchup for Alexandre Topuria, but he's definitely looking for an uptake in competition. I think he's very talented. If you guys are watching the UFC back when Ilya made his debut, people were saying the same thing about Ilya. No one thought he was going to get to the heights that he's reached right now, and I think it's going to be the same with Alexandre. I think Alexandre can challenge for a world title. I think he's that good. His boxing, I don't think it's as good as Ilya's, but it's as you can see, if you watch him fight, he has the same style. He has the same stance. They're both orthodox. He has his chin tucked very well. He's very intelligent defensively. Obviously has great grappling as well. Fucking that suplex in his debut was amazing. Um, Heavy hands, great wrestling. On the regional scene was just taking down guys, bigger guys as well, and just ground and pounding them, getting the I think he had a crucifix TKO victory. His bout before he entered the UFC, but I have Alexandre Topuria at number 6 just because I feel that his potential is so high. I believe that Alexandre Topuria is really that good, and until I'm proven otherwise, then yeah, I'm all for it. I think Alexandre Topuria, if he, gets active, if he builds himself correctly, not just jumping straight into a top 15 guy, builds himself slowly, 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 which I see a lot of prospects nowadays do. They jump straight in there, like Talbot, straight in there with a crafty vet like Barcelos, can take him down and grind him out. I don't want to see that with Topuria. I think he's obviously got a big name. If he can build himself slowly and enter the rankings, I think, builds himself slowly, then gets a fight like a Rob Font or a Cheeto Vera. I think he can take them out and look to challenge for the bantamweight world title. Honestly, that's a bold claim, but hey, don't fucking shoot me until he gets fraud checked, which I don't think will happen. Now, moving on to number 5, Ju Sang Yu. Now, I am a huge fan of Ju Sang Yu. I am all on the hype of Ju Sang Yu. He's a little bit on the older side, 31 years old. He's 5'9". He fights in the featherweight division. He was on the most recent episode of Dana White's Looking for a Fight. If you watch that on YouTube, you obviously would have seen him. Was fighting in the Korean Zombies organization, and in the short fight that only lasted, I think it was 75 seconds, you can just see that this guy's fucking striking is on another level. Like MMA nowadays, like especially even in the UFC, like more often than not, the guys, the fighters you are watching, at least one of them has just fucking dog shit striking, and you see a guy come along like Drew Sang Yu, who's just so fucking skilled on the feet, the speed, the fucking precision that this guy fucking throws. Oh my God! Even the Jekasaragi fight, his debut in 28 seconds was just so fluid and smooth, and the fluidity behind his his movement, his distance, and everything. Like watch that KO in slow motion. He's just perfect pullback, perfect placement, bink right on the chin, and put Jekasaragi to sleep in under 30 seconds. He's got insane KOs on the regional scene in the Korean Zombies organization. I believe he had two fights in there, looked impressive in both of them. Um, I'm all for it. Now, again, this is also like the same as Malcolm Wellmaker, though. You know, we haven't seen him against a grappler, against a real, you know, offensive wrestler. So that is a big what if. But I do think we have seen glimpses. If you watch the tape on his regional fights, we have seen glimpses of his takedown defense. I do think it will be able to hold up. I think he's very slick, very smart, intelligently with his placement on the feet. Um, he's not just standing in front of you waiting to get single legged. He's constantly moving his feet well, um, and the speed of he's got very good counter shots. I think this guy is going to go a long way in the featherweight division. I really do. I think this guy's going to be ranked within 12 months. As long as he stays active, he gets another three fights. I think, yeah, I think maybe for a next matchup for him, he could be looking for even a Hyde or a Mill coming off of a knockout loss to Jose Delgado. You know, chuck him in there. Let's build him up. We need a Korean, prospect to surge up and and rise to the heights. And what better way to do it, Get him in there with a respectable opponent like Hyde or Mill, maybe a Joe Anderson Brito coming off of a loss. That would be a banger to open up to be the last fight of a main prelim of a pay-per-view, But Ju Sang Yu, I'm all for it. 9-0 undefeated, tremendous striking. Look out for Ju Sang Yu. Number 4, we have Marco Tulio. He's got a great record of 14-1. He's only 30 years old. He's not too old. He's 6 foot, and he fights in the middleweight division. He trains out of Shooter Box. Um, Training partners such as Charles Oliveira, Daniel Willie Cat Santos, Ian Gary. He's got great wins. He's had two fights on the Contender Series, I believe, or maybe I'm mistaken. He fought Yusri Balgari, which is a former Glory Kickboxing World Champion who has been in there with Israel Adesanya, with Alex Pereira in Glory. So, this isn't just some walkover. Obviously, Bulgari is, started off as a kickboxer, transitioned to MMA late in his career. So, Tulio did have success with the takedowns, going on to win a unanimous decision victory against him. But I'm just trying to remember if Marco Tullio had that was his first shot on the Contender Series, and he was denied the contract. I believe so. I believe so because Dana White wasn't quite entertained with that. I'm going to go with that. I'm 90% sure. And then I believe he got a KO win on the regional scene, and then he got another fight back, and then he got straight into the UFC. Made his debut against Ihor Peteria, smoked him within round one. Had a couple of fouls before the KO though, but still got Ihor out of there. Looked impressive. And then that last fight with Trayshawn Gore was an amazing fight. That was one of the greatest fights I've seen as of late. Even though it only lasted a round and a half, it was one of those fights where it's just not a slugfest, but it was. It was a war, but it was still very technical at the same time, which is what I like to see out of a fight. And Trayshawn Gore going forward, dropped Tulio in a moment, so Tulio has shown that he's not a quitter. He's not a guy that if he can't impose his will, he's going to be defeated and just get out of there after that. But he got dropped. He fought back. He had a bit of a war with Trayshawn. He absorbed some shots, showed that he can take a shot, showed that he's got a bit of heart, and kept going forward. He mixes it up very, very well, spinning back kicks. Like there's a sequence where he kicks Trayshawn to the leg, then he lands a jab, then he lands a right uppercut, and then he throws a spinning back kick against the fence. Like and it's just wow. Like it just looks like shades of Oliveira when he was doing the same thing against Poirier. He's like bang leg kick, bang teep kick, 1-2 knee. He mixes it up so well, and as a lot of guys do out of the shooter box gym. But he's currently scheduled to fight Michel Pereira at UFC Shanghai, August 23rd. I think that he is going to mince Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira has dog shit cardio, as it seemed. He was on that win streak at one time where it was like he submitted Ihor Peteria. Um, he beat, I believe it was Michelle Alonjaychuk, and it was a couple other guys. And then he went in there against fucking Anthony Hernandez, which was like near even odds for that fight, and he just got taken down, and we just saw how shit his gas tank really was. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's Anthony Hernandez. He's a great grappler. He's got great cardio, elite cardio. He's got taken down a bunch. I'll kind of let him off. I was kind of 50-50, 60-40 on the Abus side leading into that fight, and then Abus just fucking fraud checked him even some more and just dominated him. Even though Abus, I don't think Abus is that good either. Even Abus's cardio wasn't that great, but Michel Pereira, it just looks like he's got 90 seconds of fight time and then his cardio just goes in the bin. That fight against Abus, like he looked like he had zero finishing potential after 2 minutes. So I think as long as Marco Tulio survives the first 2-3 minutes in his fight with Michel, I think he's going to dominate and finish him late because he's not a guy like a Bus who's just going to stand in front of him and want and be happy to win a decision. He's constantly mixing it up. He goes to the body well, which I think he could get a Bus out of there with a body kick. Mixes it up very well. Tremendous potential in the middleweight division. Moving on, we have Jose Miguel Delgado. Now, Jose on the younger side, only 27 years of age, 5'11". He's very big for the weight class, which I like. Um, just coming off of that win last weekend against Hyder Emil. As I predicted that one perfectly spot on. Predicted the knee through the middle in round one, cashed that check. Looked tremendous in that fight. Looked tremendous in the fight with Conor Matthews. They're building him correctly, the UFC. I don't want to see him jump up into there with a top 15 guy just yet. I think his call out was pretty spot on. William Gomis, I think that's a good fight for him to take right now at this point in his career. I think he's ready for that. Obviously, Hyder Emil had a victory over Gomis. Controversial fight. I believe Gomis won, but it was what it was. In that being said, uh, Jose Miguel Delgado did come off of the Contender Series, had a very good scrap with a respectable opponent, another prospect, who I believe is getting wins on the regional scenes, so he's not just some tomato can. Yeah, 2-0 in the UFC, two first round finishes. This guy's very well rounded. I do want to see him get tested in the grappling a bit more. I do want to see him fight an offensive wrestler, an offensive grappler, someone who can take him down and take him into the late second and third round, and really see how good he is off his back, how good are his get ups, how's his cardio hold up when he is taken down like that. That's really what I want to see. On the feet, I think he's tremendous. He mixes it up very well. Similar to Marco Tulio, he throws kicks, leg kicks, body kicks, teeps, jabs. He mixes up the uppercuts as well. Throws his knees, times the knees perfectly. He's very attentive in the cage, is something you can notice with Jose. Um, he's looks very measured and calm all the time, and he finds the right shot right when it's there for the taking. So he's very talented. I believe we're going to see Jose Miguel Delgado ranked in no less than 18 months' time from now. He's coming off an amazing win over Hyder Emil, who was undefeated until he just got knocked out with a brutal knee by Jose. But Jose Miguel Delgado, keep that name, keep that name in your mind. He's very, very talented. Moving on, Tabor Gutierrez, 7-1, 23 years old. 23 years old. Now, you're looking at this guy, you're probably thinking, where the fuck's his birth certificate? And I agree. This guy's built like a fucking brick shithouse. He's 6'4". He fights in the middleweight division, which is big for middleweight. He is fucking humongous. Now, this photo of him in front of you doesn't really serve him right, even though he does look massive. But if you see a photo of him from the back, pause, um, his back is humongous. Like it just looks like he's fucking injecting oil into his traps. Even you can see in this photo, but earned his contract on the Dana White Contender Series with an impressive first round KO. I remember it was like even odds going into that fight with his opponent, and I believe his opponent was a Korean prospect. I think he was 7-0 at the time. He was kind of more of a grappler, and I put money on a tape. I kind of watch a bit of the tape on the two of them just on the regional scene. I was thinking this guy ain't all that for a Tabor. This guy's got fucking Ngannou power. Went out there, mixed it up with him a bit in round one, and then got the second round KO and just fucking overwhelmed his opponent. But he's also coming off of a win against Jose. And my memory's gone in the bin. But who was it? Why do I want to say Jose Miguel? We were just talking about Jose Miguel Delgado, but his last opponent, Mexican or Ecuadorian opponent, a guy who hadn't won in the UFC, literally just got signed to the UFC based on his toughness. I can't remember who that guy fought in the Contender Series, but he like withstanded severe punishment, and Dana White kind of felt bad for him. Was like, oh yeah, you got fucking hit a bunch. We're gonna give you a contract. Um, yeah, and he also fought that guy. Also fought Zachary Reese. Didn't get finished by him. Just fucking took a took a beating, and then yeah, Ataba. The guy also had never gotten knocked out either. Ataba fought him recently. I think maybe only 2-3 months ago. No, not two, maybe 3-4 months ago, and got him out of there inside one round. Um, One thing I do like is he did finish that combination with the knee. He's not just a guy that's going out there and looking to box and, wing out his power shots because he knows he's got power in his hands. He was throwing kicks, landed the knee to finish it off. Good ground and pound, got him out of there. He is scheduled to fight Robert Valentin in about a week time on the UFC 318 card. Now look out for that performance because that's a great matchup. Robert Valentin's a guy who wants to go in there and trade with you, so it's going to be a fun fight for all that it lasts. Um, I do want to see a Tabor Gutierrez off his back. I want to see him get taken down. Robert Valentin does have good jiu-jitsu, so maybe they'll end up in a bit of a scramble position. Or I do want to see a Tabor in that sense on the ground. I want to see a bit of his grappling, but I believe he's very, very talented. And the reason why he's so high on my list is because of his age. 23 years old and you're already this good. Like, imagine when he's 27. That's 4 years from now, bro. 4 years. And he's so big for the weight class, too. He fights out of a great gym, Manchester top team. I'm all for Ateba Gutierrez. I think he's going to do some serious damage in the middleweight division. I think he's going to be ranked in no more than 20 months' time from now. Moving on to number one, we have Kevin Vallejos, aka Mini Taporia, also 23 years old. 5'7", fights in the featherweight division. Now, Kevin's only loss comes to Gene Silver. Obviously, everyone knows Gene Silver is a rising star in the featherweight division. He had a great fight with Gene, which I believe at the time he was like 20 or 21 years old, which is fucking crazy to be in the UFC at 20 years old and then be mixing it up with Gene Silver. And, look what Gene Silver's doing. He's fucking finishing guys left, right, and center. And he had a 29-28 with Gene. Gene, round one was pretty close, I believe. Um, Round two is where Kevin, I think it was round two, where he got dropped. I think he got dropped once and then wobbled, or he got dropped twice, but he did get badly hurt in one of the rounds. I believe it was round two or round three. And then Kevin ended up weathering a bit of a storm and was landing some good shots after that. He was landing very good kicks in that fight. But that's just very impressive at 20, 21 years old to be mixing it up, going toe to toe with Gene, even taking those shots and, getting knocked down, getting wobbled. It just shows, that he can overcome a bit of adversity in so young in his career. Now to have 16 professional bouts at 23 years old is crazy. That's a lot of experience already for such a young man. And um, if you have watched him fight, his UFC debut wasn't too long ago. It was a first round KO victory over Si Rung Choi, I believe his name was. Korean guy. I believe he has a record of 11-7, so not the greatest opponent, but it's his debut. The UFC building him correctly, I hope. He is scheduled to fight Danny Silva next, which is a great matchup. That is tremendous matchmaking. That's a banger. Danny Silva's also another prospect coming off of a win against Lucas Almeida not too long ago. So two prospects battling it out. I believe that fight is scheduled to take place in August. That's going to be an amazing bout. Looking forward to that. But Kevin Vallejos, he has a similar style to Poirier. He's very active with the hands. He moves forward. He has his chin tucked well. He's defensively intelligent. I like him a lot. Now, again, a lot of these guys on this list, we do need to see them get taken down. I've chosen a lot of strikers predominantly on this list, but we do need to see a lot of these guys get taken down. And obviously, that's why this is a prospects list. Not all of these guys are going to go on to win world titles. Maybe not any of them do, but based off my assessment, these are my top 10 favorite prospects in the sense of who I think are most skilled, who I think are most likely in their divisions based on who is around them, who is in that division with them to climb to the top 5, top 10, top 15, whatever it is. So that's my top 10 prospects in the UFC right now with 2 fights or less, so under 3 fights. Let me know if you've stuck around until now in the comments below. Let me know what you think of my list, if I was missing anyone. Maybe I probably was. Um, who you think, if you don't agree with my list, tell me more, tell me who you think needs to go where, who's number one, etc. And yeah, if anyone's watching this out there, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it greatly. And make sure to leave a like and a subscribe. Thank you all.